Carol Burnett, the woman America adored for her warm smile and charming humor, has long been regarded as the kindest lady in Hollywood. For decades, she maintained a calm, graceful, and gentle image that captured the hearts of millions. But recently, in her 90s, Carol Burnett shocked the public with rare, candid revelations in an interview with Rolling Stone. For the first time, she spoke openly about the men she truly disliked, and they weren't strangers. They were men who had once played crucial roles in both her career and personal life. Some betrayed her through infidelity, others clashed with her over shared assets, and a few used their influence to keep her off major shows like Saturday Night Live for years. One younger man even mocked her public image in a controversial scene, forcing Burnett to take legal action to defend her reputation. But among all those painful experiences, there was one man she admitted she could never forgive: Harvey Korman. Amid the bright lights of 1970s television, an era when every laugh meant ratings, fame, and advertising deals, a fierce argument erupted between the two stars on the set of The Carol Burnett Show. The tension grew so intense that Carol was forced to make a shocking decision: to fire her longtime comedy partner, the man once considered the soul of the show. Behind the laughter that once enchanted an entire nation, there lay a bitter story that Carol Burnett has only now chosen to tell. At the center of it all were Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman, a comedy duo so perfectly in tune that audiences swore they shared one heartbeat. Carol was the soul of The Carol Burnett Show, radiant and unshakably kind, while Harvey was the sharp edge that made every joke land. Together, they defined television's golden age. But behind the laughter and applause, something darker was quietly unraveling, a storm that would soon destroy a friendship built over a decade. By 1974, the show was at its peak. Ratings soared, CBS extended its contract for 3 more years, and another Emmy had just been added to the shelf. But even as the spotlight burned brighter, tension began to flicker in the shadows. According to costume designer Bob Mackie, Harvey had changed. He was irritable, distant, and no longer the easygoing partner everyone adored. He avoided Carol backstage, often walking past her without a word. Some whispered that he felt overshadowed, that Carol's fame had grown too large, casting a shadow over his own rising stardom. The tension finally exploded one April afternoon at Studio 33 in Los Angeles. The cast was rehearsing an episode with British singer Petula Clark, fresh off a flight from London, when disaster struck. During Harvey's scene, a lighting mistake left his face in darkness. Without warning, he stopped mid-line, threw his script to the floor, and shouted, "After all these years, can't anyone get it right?" The studio froze. Director Dave Powers rushed to intervene, but Harvey's anger only deepened. And then came the moment that changed everything, when he snapped, "Even Carol doesn't notice anymore." That sentence cut through the air like a blade. And for Carol Burnett, it was the first time laughter on her own stage suddenly felt cold. Carol Burnett had always led her team with grace, firm, but kind. She believed respect was the foundation of comedy, that laughter meant nothing if it came from bitterness. But that day, something inside her broke. As Harvey's voice echoed across the studio, Carol rose slowly from her seat among the audience. The laughter had long faded. She walked toward the stage, calm, steady, commanding every eye in the room. Without shouting, she looked at him and said, clear enough for everyone to hear, "Harvey, I've had enough. If you can't respect everyone here, you don't need to be here anymore." The room fell into absolute silence. According to Bob Mackie's memoir, Even More Laughs, you could have heard a microphone drop. Harvey stood frozen for a moment, then quietly walked off stage. No one dared to follow. Later that afternoon, the cameraman remembered Carol sitting alone on the empty set for more than half an hour. Her eyes lingered on Harvey's vacant chair. She finally turned to the director and whispered, "I didn't want it to end this way, but he went too far." Just hours later, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner broke the story, "Harvey Korman leaves the Carol Burnett Show during rehearsal." CBS refused to comment, but the headlines spread like wildfire. Variety insiders claimed Burnett had reached her breaking point after months of growing tension. For 3 days, Hollywood couldn't stop talking. Vicki Lawrence, Carol's close friend and co-star, tried calling Harvey, but he didn't answer. Carol, ever the professional, continued filming as if nothing had happened. She never mentioned his name, but crew members said she seemed quieter, almost drained. Then, on Wednesday morning, a call came to CBS headquarters. It was Harvey Korman. His voice was shaky as he told the assistant, "I need to talk to Carol." When she picked up, he said softly, "I was wrong. I want to come back." The next day, as the team gathered for their morning meeting, the door opened, and there he was. Everyone watched in silence as he apologized to the crew, then turned to Burnett. "I forgot why I started." Burnett smiled, stepped forward, and hugged him. The studio erupted in applause, but those who were there knew something had permanently changed. Korman stayed on the show until 1977, then quietly departed. Burnett remained in touch, though their friendship was never the same. Years later, in a 1983 interview with Entertainment Tonight, she reflected with a bittersweet smile, "Harvey made me laugh more than anyone else, and gave me the biggest headaches." The moment that shook Studio 33, now remembered as the Studio 33 blow-up, became one of the most talked about behind-the-scenes stories in CBS history. It served as a reminder that even the strongest creative partnerships can fracture when egos collide. In the aftermath, Carol Burnett emerged stronger, more disciplined, more professional, but also more guarded. She had learned the cost of letting emotions rule the stage. Yet, the turbulence in her life was far from over. Behind the glittering lights and roaring laughter of the Carol Burnett Show, another storm was forming, one that had nothing to do with Hollywood, but with the man she once loved most, Joe Hamilton. Joe Hamilton wasn't just Carol Burnett's husband. He was her creative anchor, the man who helped build her stardom. Together, they were CBS's golden couple, radiating love and artistic harmony. But behind the laughter, cracks quietly formed. Their story began in 1960, when Carol was a rising star on The Gary Moore Show and Joe, a seasoned producer, first noticed her. "He looked at me like I truly mattered," she later said. 3 years later, they married in a private California ceremony, unaware that the fame binding them would one day break them apart. By 1967, The Carol Burnett Show had turned them into television royalty. Joe produced, Carol shone. They seemed unstoppable, until success began to twist the partnership. By the mid-70s, Joe's control grew tighter. He wanted final say on guests, scripts, even sketches. When he pushed to cut emotional moments, Carol stood firm, "Viewers need both heart and laughter." That simple disagreement widened into distance. Rumors soon followed. In 1979, whispers linked Joe to a younger CBS editor. Carol stayed silent, until friends saw her in tears after hearing gossip about his too-friendly relationship. The final blow came in 1982 when her lawyer uncovered that Joe had secretly registered Hamilton Productions, claiming ownership of spin-offs like Mama's Family, based on Carol's own work. Confronting him, she asked, "Do you really think it's fair to turn what we built together into something that's only yours?" His cold reply, "It's business, Carol, not emotion." The next year, she filed for divorce. The courtroom battle over production rights became national news. When it ended in 1984, Carol kept her show's name, her legacy, while Joe walked away with part of the profits. "We were the best team," she told people, "until he forgot I was more than a partner." Joe's later projects faltered. When he died in 1991, Carol didn't attend his funeral, but sent white flowers with a note, "I wish you peace, Joe. As for me, I'll keep going." Reflecting years later, she said softly, "Joe taught me that love isn't enough, you also need trust." It was a hard lesson, one that would echo when another man, far more unpredictable, entered her life. Because soon after, Marlon Brando called. It was 3 a.m., July 1972. Carol, half asleep, answered the phone to a deep, familiar voice. "Carol, it's Marlon Brando." What began as flattery soon turned strangely personal. She ended the call politely, thinking it was over, but it was only the beginning of one of the strangest chapters in her Hollywood life. Marlon Brando calls Carol Burnett at 3 a.m. The Los Angeles Herald-Examiner followed with, "Brando finds inspiration in CBS's comedy queen." Gossip columnists like Luella Parsons and Rona Barrett added extra fuel, claiming the call lasted over an hour and that Brando sounded infatuated. CBS rushed to release a statement insisting the call was entirely personal. But by then, the damage was done. Furious and humiliated, Burnett asked her PR team to shut the rumors down, yet every attempt only seemed to spread them further. Anonymous sources whispered that Brando had called again days later, but this time, she didn't answer. Over lunch at Musso and Frank Grill, she vented to her friend Vicki Lawrence. "He crossed the line. I can't believe someone like Marlon Brando thinks a late-night call is acceptable." From that day on, Burnett made a quiet vow she would never be caught in the same room as him again. At the 1974 AFI Awards, when Brando appeared unexpectedly on the red carpet, Burnett turned on her heel and walked the other way. Reporters thought it was coincidence. Insiders knew better. Her monthly PR schedules even carried a discreet note: "Do not attend events with Brando present." It was never made public, until years later, when a former CBS staffer confirmed in Hollywood Inside Out that Burnett had gone out of her way to avoid any place Brando might be. As for Brando, he never apologized. Instead, he reportedly laughed about it with friends, saying, "Carol takes things too seriously. It was just a conversation." That one remark only deepened the wound and cemented his reputation for arrogance. For Carol Burnett, the ordeal wasn't just embarrassing gossip. It was a harsh reminder of how fragile respect could be in a business built on image. After that night, something in her changed. She became more private, more guarded. Behind the laughter and charm that America adored, she learned to measure every word, every smile, and every moment of trust, because in Hollywood, even a single phone call could rewrite your story. One former crew member would later recall that after the Brando incident, Carol Burnett made herself a simple rule: she never answered calls after midnight again, not even from CBS. But she couldn't have known that the next blow waiting for her wouldn't come in private. It would come under chandeliers, in front of hundreds of Hollywood's most powerful faces. It happened in 1968, the year The Carol Burnett Show became a national sensation. She was television's new queen, adored by millions, while Cary Grant remained Hollywood's timeless prince. Elegant, untouchable, a relic of cinema's golden age. That winter, the Beverly Hilton glittered with champagne and applause as the Hollywood Foreign Press Association honored Grant with a Lifetime Achievement Award. The ballroom shimmered with stars: Lucille Ball, Gregory Peck, Elizabeth Taylor, Jack Lemmon, and at the center of it all, Burnett arrived in a crimson gown designed by Bob Mackie himself, glowing with pride and poise. After the ceremony, she made her way to Grant's table, glass in hand, ready to congratulate him. Witnesses said the moment she approached, the air shifted, laughter dimmed, smiles tightened. Trying to ease the tension, a director beside Grant joked, "Carrie, have you seen Carol's show? The whole country loves it." Grant smirked, that trademark charm curling into something sharper. "Oh, that show," he said smoothly. "The one where she waves her arms, makes faces, overacts every scene. I've no idea why people enjoy that sort of thing." The words struck like a spark in a room filled with silence. A few nervous chuckles broke out. Most just froze. Burnett didn't flinch. She smiled, that calm, deliberate kind of smile that hides the sting. "Maybe," she said softly, "people prefer laughing with real folks rather than with perfection." For a second, no one breathed. Then she turned, lifted her glass in a quiet toast, and walked away. Cary Grant's smile never quite reached his eyes again that night. 2 days later, the Los Angeles Times printed a short entertainment brief: Cary Grant and Carol Burnett, a frosty encounter at the Beverly Hilton. The piece was subtle, almost polite. But Hollywood understood what it meant. Word spread like wildfire. Some defended Grant, saying he was teasing, nothing more. But television audiences, especially women who saw Burnett as one of their own, were furious. At CBS headquarters, executives scrambled. The PR department issued a statement praising mutual respect between two icons, trying to cool the flames. But the damage was already done. Behind the humor and grace, Burnett learned another truth about fame that night. In Hollywood, sometimes the real performances happen off the stage. CBS moved swiftly to defend their star. Within 24 hours, the network released a short but pointed statement. Carol Burnett represents humor that is humane and intelligent, laughter born from empathy, not foolishness. It was polite on paper, but everyone in Hollywood knew exactly who that message was aimed at: Cary Grant. Burnett herself chose silence. No rebuttals. No interviews. Just quiet grace. But Grant, perhaps unintentionally, added more fuel to the fire. In an interview with Variety journalist Art Silverman, when asked about American TV comedy, he replied smoothly, "I prefer a more refined kind of humor, something like the European style. Television these days feels too loaded, everyone's trying too hard to be funny." He didn't mention names, but no one doubted who he meant. The tabloids pounced, twisting the quote into headlines like, "Grant says Burnett makes comedy lose its elegance." Though never verified, the story spread like wildfire, infuriating her fans across the country. CBS reported that viewer letters doubled in November 1968, nearly all expressing love and support for Carol Burnett. And while the press waited for her to strike back, she never did. Instead, she poured her energy into her craft. That same season, The Carol Burnett Show reached its highest ratings ever. In a brilliant move, she invited her longtime friend Lucille Ball to appear in a special episode. When asked about it later, Lucille smiled and said, "Carol told me, the best response is when they turn on their TVs and still see us there." Still, Burnett never forgot that night at the Beverly Hilton. When Paramount Pictures offered her a role opposite Cary Grant in a 1970 musical, she politely declined, citing schedule conflicts. But a friend later revealed her true words. "I won't work with someone who looks down on women's laughter." Grant never apologized publicly, nor spoke of the incident again. Yet in Graham McCann's biography Cary Grant, A Class Apart, the actor reportedly once admitted, "Carol is such a smart, strong woman, she made me feel uneasy." Ironically, his disdain became her motivation. Burnett doubled down on her mission, portraying real people, not perfect ones. Housewives, maids, secretaries, women with simple lives but enormous hearts. Within 3 years, she had won 3 consecutive Emmys, and The Carol Burnett Show was enshrined as one of TV Guide's greatest American television classics. From that experience, Carol Burnett learned a quiet truth. You don't need to argue, success speaks louder than pride. But even as her star soared, her very strength seemed to unsettle certain powerful men in television. Among them was Lorne Michaels, the creator of Saturday Night Live. For nearly half a century, fans and critics alike have wondered, why was Carol Burnett, the woman who paved the way for every female comedian after her, never invited to host SNL? Given Carol Burnett's legendary status, her absence from Saturday Night Live has long puzzled Hollywood. How could one of the most beloved women in television history, the very pioneer of sketch comedy, never be invited to host the most famous sketch show in America? For many inside the industry, it wasn't an oversight. It was a deliberate silence. To understand why, you have to go back to 1975, the year Saturday Night Live first aired from Studio 8H at Rockefeller Plaza. At the time, The Carol Burnett Show was in its 8th season on CBS, reigning as the #1 variety show in the country. Burnett's humor was warm, human, and full of heart. Lorne Michaels, the young visionary behind SNL, was building something entirely different, sharp, subversive, and politically charged. In the show's early days, critics like Harriet Van Horn of the New York Post suggested Burnett should appear on SNL to bridge 2 generations of comedy. It sounded innocent, even logical, but it quietly marked the start of a wall that would stand for decades. Behind closed doors at NBC, her name reportedly surfaced in discussions for Season 2 around 1976. But according to multiple insiders, Michaels shut the idea down. "She doesn't fit the spirit of the show," he allegedly said. Years later, in the book Live from New York, Back Bay Books, 2002, one former SNL editor recalled Michaels' exact words during a production meeting, "She's the face of old television. We're doing something new." That single remark echoed far beyond Studio 8H. By 1981, journalist Tom Shales of the Washington Post reignited the controversy with an article claiming Burnett had privately expressed interest in hosting SNL several times and never received a reply from NBC. The revelation caused an uproar. Viewers flooded the network with letters demanding to know why the Queen of American comedy was being overlooked. NBC's official statement tried to calm the storm. Guest invitations, they said, depend on each season's content and tone. But few believed it. For many, the snub had nothing to do with tone, it was about territory. Carol Burnett herself never publicly confirmed she'd asked to host. But insiders insisted she felt quietly dismissed, excluded from a world she helped make possible. Years later, during a light-hearted 1980s appearance on Larry King Live, King finally asked the question on everyone's mind. Carol smiled, her voice soft but edged with irony, and said, "Maybe I'm just not edgy enough for them." It was a small joke, but one that carried 50 years of unspoken truth. Those who had worked with Lorne Michaels often said he was a man of principle and pride. To him, Saturday Night Live wasn't just a comedy show, it was a cultural statement. Young, rebellious, ironic. Everything Carol Burnett's heartfelt, old-fashioned humor was not. In a 1990 interview with Rolling Stone, a former SNL editor recalled how Michaels once refused a top sponsor suggestion to invite Burnett for the show's 10th anniversary special, flatly saying, "We respect her, but that's not our kind of comedy." That single sentence quietly defined a decades-long divide. Years passed, and their relationship remained frozen in polite distance. Then, in the early 1990s, both Burnett and Michaels were honored at a Television Academy event in Los Angeles. Journalist Bill Carter of the New York Times described the moment. When Carol Burnett walked on stage, the room erupted in a standing ovation. Moments later, when Michaels followed, Burnett stayed seated, smiling faintly, eyes locked on the camera. The clip aired on Entertainment Tonight and quickly became known as the coldest look in Hollywood. For a long time, the story seemed destined to fade into old Hollywood lore, until 2023. That year, NBC aired Carol Burnett, 90 Years of Laughter Plus Love, a special tribute to her unmatched legacy. During the press tour, a journalist from The Hollywood Reporter asked her a simple question. Did she ever regret not hosting SNL? Burnett smiled, calm, kind, but with a quiet edge, and said, "I guess they didn't need me, but I didn't need them either." One sentence. 50 years of silence shattered. Within hours, social media exploded. The hashtag #InviteCarol to SNL began trending worldwide, with thousands of fans urging NBC to finally make things right. Burnett, however, remained graceful. Speaking later at the Paley Center for Media, she reflected, "Some people forget that kindness has its own kind of power." After that, she appeared less on modern television, choosing instead to protect the timeless image she had built. But fate wasn't finished with her story yet. Not even close.